Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, where we have a very busy weekend to look forward to, where we'll be covering races from Newmarket, York and Ascot, so plenty to get through. And I will be doing so in the company of just Andrew Mount this week, because unfortunately Daryl Carter is stuck in traffic, but he has just flown back from New York, so I think we can forgive that. Either that, or he's currently on his way to Downing Street to pitch up his claims then to become next PM, which we can't argue either way. We're not entirely sure, to be honest with you, but I love the idea of Daryl going in there to kick out Johnson so he doesn't have to stay till November. But that's my own fantasy.
I'm going with the Macaulay Culkin theory. Home Alone 2 lost in New York still. So I reckon he disgraced himself once too often and his missus dumped him out there.
I love it. I even love the idea of Daryl going down then to number 10 for first of all, but I probably more so love the idea of Daryl setting booby traps for burglars then to come and find him in his house in New York. Yeah, that is that is a wonderful, whichever. Take your pick on whichever Daryl's doing right now. We'll just keep making it up as he goes. But we better give Daryl some credit though for last week, because he did manage to tip up Vidani then at 11-4 to win in impressive style, of course, at Sandown. But we also had a winner then for Andrew and I as well. I had Get Shirty winning at 10-1. I thank you very much. But then Andrew came straight back at me with Youthful King winning at 6-1 then for himself. So the team had a pretty good weekend last weekend. Hopefully Andrew will be finding plenty of winners from a plethora of racing this weekend. So we will crack on with the 145 at York. This is a 0-100 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 1 mile. A very open handicap here to kickstart you, Andrew. So who wins it for you?
Yeah, this is a tricky old one. David O'Mara's got a good record in this race. He won it with Escobar under a big weight recently. He's got the top weight Young Fire running off 10-2. I tipped this one at Haydock last week, a little bit underwhelmed with his fourth place because he loves Haydock. He loves cutting the ground. So I think 1 mile at York, maybe his presence was there just to keep the weight down for some of his stablemates. Isla Kai is in the betting at 7-2. This is a horse I like, but I mean, after going 4 from 5 with a half-length defeat for the other one, outside of his seasonal debuts and the early part of his career, he seems to have stuttered this term. Just after a good comeback run at Newbury, I think it's ground dependent now with him. So on good to firm, I'd be very worried about Isla Kai, and I'd rather wait for an autumn campaign for him. Scottish Summit's very hard to win with, particularly on turf and particularly round a turn. Via Serendipity, or Via Serendipity, is the one I've put up in Racing and Football Outlook this week. He's got a terrible record following a win, 0 from 11. So after he won at Sandown, I'm happy to forgive his Hunt Cup defeat at Royal Ascot just 4 days after that one. He often bounces back from a duck egg to win next time out. Not 100% convinced that York is his track. But at the prices, I think 11-1 I can see. I'll go for Via Serendipity. And Blue for You was another interesting one. He was only just chinned by Via Serendipity at Sandown when it paid to be late and wide. The winner and the runner-up both came late and wide. Blue for You made the running on the rail. He looked one of the first beat. He thought he was going to get swamped. Did really well, I thought, to hold on for third, only being half a length, to say. So maybe Blue for You, 9-2, will be the biggest danger to the selection. The other one I want to throw into the mix is Garden Oasis. David Allen back on board. He does seem to get on best with Allen. David Allen's only ridden him on a handful of occasions in the cheap pieces. 3 wins from 7 starts, improving to 3 wins and a second from 4 starts when running in fields of 10 or fewer runners, conditions he gets here. So Via Serendipity, Blue for You, Garden Oasis, the shortlist. Although, as you can tell, I've done more work on the first race and a lot less on the last races. So don't expect such comprehensive coverage when we get to those minor races like the July Cup later.
I was going to say A-star student straight away up front. I was like, if he continues this for the whole entire podcast, goodness me, he's done his work this week. That was a comprehensive rundown of the field. But just to reassess, though, the eventual shortlist, though, was Via Serendipity, Garden Oasis, and
Blue for You.
Blue for You. There we go. Lost in there. There you go. Nice prices about all 3 of those anyway. So very likable start, Andrew, I must admit. We'll keep this rolling into the 205 then. at Newmarket as we switch to the July course now for a 0 to 100 fillies handicap for 3-year-olds over 7 furlongs at 2:05. So just the 8 fillies to head to post here, Andrew. Any strong opinions in this race?
Yeah, I did have a look at the stats to see, what the sort of typical profile of a previous winner was. A lot of them seem to fit 2 criteria. They'd either won or gone extremely close in a handicap last time out, or they were coming off the back of a Royal Ascot sort of down the field run. And one I did like with that Royal Ascot route approach is Golden Spice for George Margeson. William Buick, a very interesting booking for this yard. Now, she really impressed me on the all-weather over the winter, because we've seen time and time again at Lingfield on the poly track, it's very hard to win from the front round the inside rail, because the wind tends to blow the poly track surface towards the rail. It gathers there, it gets deeper, and that slingshot manoeuvre around the outside, certainly this week at Lingfield, was massively favoured. Now, Golden Spice kept winning from the front, or running extremely well in defeat from the front at Lingfield on that inside rail over the winter. First run on turf came at Newmarket in May on the Rolling Milecourse, and won at 20 to 1, beaten Truly Acclaimed, again showing a good attitude from the front. Went to Leicester, followed up on soft ground, possibly not ideal for her. And then last time out, she's gone to Royal Ascot for the Sandringham Stake. She's poorly drawn, doing well to finish 10th and 28 behind Heredia. You look at the first 4 in that race, drawn 21, 17, 24, 25, and then she was on stall 7, probably sort of 3rd or 4th of those home of those to race on the far side. So that again, I've not looked at this sort of the full pace map, but hopefully she'll get a soft lead. She's drawn in stall 1. The stalls are in the middle all 3 days on the July course this week. That's quite rare. But Golden Spice has got the option of coming across near side towards the stand side rail. Whether that's an advantage or not remains to be seen. They might just stay down the centre, but I'm going to go for Golden Spice to make all under Buick.
Oh, lovely job from stall 1 then to go forwards to make all. 11 to 2 then for Golden Spice as well, taking on those at the head of the market. Like that a lot, as you say, if on the back of that Royal Ascot run then last time out, can forgive that therefore. So we will switch now and move on back to York, actually, where we have the Group 3 John Smith Silver Cup Stakes for 4-year-olds and over a mile 5.5 furlongs at 2:20. But just the 3 runners here, Andrew, for this Group 3, a very disappointing turnout. So do you have any betting angles into this race?
What a load of old crap this is. 80,000 guaranteed, Group 3 and 3 runners. This race used to be a listed handicap, 0 to 105. Mount Athos won it under top weight 10 years ago and went on to run 5th in the Melbourne Cup and won a couple of Group 3s after. It then became listed only for 1 year, no handicap, and has since been elevated to Group 3. Now, when I first looked, I was thinking, I got into my head it was still a listed race. So I was looking at Without a Fight, who has got a fantastic record below Group 3 level, away from Ascot, 6 wins from 6 starts. So I thought, well, that's it. Anything odds against is massive value, but because it is a Group 3, although my goodness, it's such a weak one, that although Without a Fight is 0 from 6 in group company, I think a weak Group 3 on a left-handed track in the summer when he seems to do his best, he's probably going to be very hard to beat. Thunderous likes the track. He's been running some good races in defeat, including behind Stradivarius. The jury still seems to be out regarding his best trip. He's probably going to make the running and perhaps set it up for Without a Fight. He can just stalk him. John Leaper should be renamed John Lepper because everyone wants to avoid him at the moment. And he was only 8 to 1 for the Derby last season after a couple of good wins, and he's not gone on from that. He finished 2nd to Without a Fight last time. So my angle here would be to think, let's hope Thunderous goes off too quick. Without a Fight stalks in 2nd and then comes through to win easily. John Leaper picks up the pieces to finish a never near, never in contention, never going to win the million years 2nd. So there's your exacta.
There you go. That's exactly it then. John Lepper. I'm definitely going to keep calling that from now on. Like you say, he is just, no one will touch that horse with a barge pole. To be fair, I don't know if Connections what trip he wants. I don't know what to do with John. Now renamed Lepper from now on, but so there's your exacta then. Without a Fight from John Leaper there for Andrew. Right, we'll swiftly move on from that disappointing Group 3 to the 240 at Newmarket, where we have a 0 to 100, the Bet365 mile handicap for 3-year-olds over a mile And again, we have a smaller field than we would have ideally have hoped for this handicap with just the 8 declared. But your opinion on this race, please, Andrew?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the next Newmarket, the Persian Force race. They pulled one out, so I'm each way I'm waiting all night. 7 runners now, not 6. So that's a bit of a killer. Anyway, yeah, this race, there's 2 that I wrote up after their runs in the Britannia State. Jimi Hendrix, who I napped on that particular day, I was really, really keen on. He was a massive eye catcher when winning at Haydock at the end of May. That was the 28th of May meeting, when ideally you wanted to be on the inside rail, prominent throughout. He's come late and wide and still won. So I've marked that up massively. I thought, well, his patient running style is going to be perfect for 30 runners on the straight course. And Ascot, what's happened? Rob, flipping heck Hornby, has decided to make the running. He's 28 to 1 into 20s. He's finished 3rd. It's a huge effort from the front. I know horses have made the running and won the Britannia in the past, but my God, it's rare. And to finish a close-up 3rd behind runners described as towards rear, slowly into stride, held up in rear, that was some effort. Now, Lawful Command was 5th in the same race. Again, he was keen towards the head of affairs, doing well to finish as close as he did under Holly Doyle. My worry with Lawful Command slightly is that his wins have come in April, May, or October. Whether it's a seasonal preference or whether he just needs cutting the ground, maybe Good to Firm at Newmarket, even well watered Good to Firm, might not be ideal. But I think I'll back Jimi Hendrix. I'll probably do a little forecast with Lawful Command as well, because if that Britannia form is as good as I think it is, then there's no reason, separated by not very far last time, why they can't finish 1-2 here. The other ones I was interested in. Richard Hammond's got a good record in this race. He's got is it Lassaudud?
Yeah, Lassaudud.
Lassaudud. He's only had 4 runs, beaten on both seasonal debuts, 2 from 2 outside of that. And Charlie Appleby has done well in this race with his recent run. His last 4 have included 2 winners, a half-length second and a third, being a length and a quarter. He's got 2 Bay of Honour and New Kingdom. So it's a tricky one, but I'll be very disappointed if Jimi Hendrix doesn't go close at least.
Cool, Jimi Hendrix at 4-1. And if you were tempted with that exacta then that Andrew was saying about Jimi Hendrix 4-1, Lawful Command 8-1, then top price. So that would be a nice return on those 2 if they managed to come home in that order. Now we have our first race at Ascot up next, which is a heritage handicap for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs at 3 o'clock. Now we finally have a proper open handicap to get our teeth stuck into. Finally, I know it's bizarre nowadays in the current climate of British racing, but it's 17-2 the field. We're burning cash at the head of the market here. So this is much more like it, Andrew. This is lovely prices about all runners here. Your idea of heaven, surely.
Yeah, this is the kind of races I love. If you look back over the last sort of several years, you'd think, oh yeah, we want to be drawn high here. Significantly, came out of stall 8 last year, but did come across to the near side. You look back to 2020 when Jewel won. First 4 drawn 18, 19, 20, and 17s a year. Just perm the highest draws in your trifecta and your quids in. Tis Marvellous won it from stall 20 in 2019. We did have a bit of a blip 4 years ago when the far side was favoured, but hopefully. I say, look at the first couple of races at Ascot, you're not really going to get any clues. There's a 13 runner 7 furlong race to kick off with, so maybe we'll have a bit of a clue from that. But there was Danzeno was one of the ones I was interested in here. Now he won this race a couple of years ago. Last year he was only 13th, but he was drawn on the wrong side of the track. He's got a particularly good record around this time of year. You look at his recent wins: July, June, July, August, September. So he seems to be a sort of second half of the season kind of horse, certainly the summer months. So Danzeno 14-1 I can see for that one. He should go well. And When the Dealing's Done is a horse I was a big fan of last year. I thought he might make an impact in group company this season, particularly on his reappearance in the Palace House Stakes at Newmarket. However, Roger Teale's going through a difficult spell, has been for much of the season. Things are a little bit better at the moment, and he had what turned out to be a terrible draw as well. You wanted to be drawn low on the far side. Kadeem made practically all, raced alone, and so he didn't make all, but raced practically alone. If you were drawn high, you never got into it. He finished 11th of 12, 10-week break, yard in bet form now. maybe when the dealing's done, kind of finally live up to that sort of group race billing that I sort of thought it would be capable of this year.
Yeah, so two horses then at very different ages as well. When the dealing's done, the 4-year-old rather than the old boy Danzeno, but both about a similar price then as well in the market, around 14-1 for the pair of them. So yeah, potentially you may as well play the both of them in that race, considering just how open and competitive it really is. Now we're back to Newmarket for our next race. This is the 3:15. This is the Group 2 Superlative Stakes for 2-year-olds over 7 furlongs. Just the 5 runners, but a pretty trappy race, really, this is. So who do you like, or who do you want to side with in this one, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, it's not been a bad idea just to side with those once raced winners. This century, if you just back any horse who'd won its sole previous outing, 7 wins from 47 bets, profit of £16.88 for a £1 stake. Now, that includes 5 of the last 6 winners and all of the last 4. Your Native Trail, of course, last year on this. Now, there are 2 qualifiers of the 5, Victory Dance and Isaac Shelby, both sort of dominate the market really, 6-4 and 100-30 last time I looked. Isaac Shelby is by Knight of Thunder, though, a sire I particularly like, but a sire whose progeny do seem best on good to soft or softer. So assuming it's going to be on the fast side, maybe we'll just side with Victory Dance off the pair.
Wonderful. Keep it simple then for last year's connections of Charlie Appleby. William Buick booked a ride for Victory Dance, and he's the 13-8 market leader. But as you say, probably best to just play that race with a straight back from the little information that we have. But the trend's in his favour. Back to Ascot then for the Group 2 Summer Mile Stakes at 3:35. This Group 2 is for 4-year-olds and over a mile, where we have some likeable types in here, Andrew. So who wins it for you?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Chindit's been a bit of a cliff horse for me, and when I saw he was when I saw he was 3-1 into 5-2 for this, I thought I've got to take him on and find somebody to beat it. Then I sort of dug a bit deeper and thought, hang on, look at his. This is a Group 2, isn't it? Just make sure I've got that right. And, you look at his record below Group 1 company. He's had 7 starts, 5 wins. A 4th and a 3rd. The first defeat was at Glorious Goodwood when he was unlucky in running, and the other defeat was at Newmarket when it was typical Rolling Mile Newmarket. The winner made all. The runner-up was in 2nd place throughout. He was the only one to make any ground from off the pace, finishing 3rd. So you can excuse both defeats. And if you just think he falls short of Group 1 company, I mean, he has run with credit because both starts this season. He reappeared. So all 3 starts this season. He won first time up at Doncaster. That was a listed company. He's then gone to Newbury in the Lockinge. He's placed behind Baid, finishing 3rd at 20-1. Ran into the same horse, of course, at Royal Ascot in the Queen Anne Stakes, finished 4th. So just this slight ease in grade and the lack of Baid in the opposition is going to make things a lot easier for him. So I'll go with him over my Oberon, who's 3 from 3 in Britain since gelded and looks on the up. I thought he was perhaps overpriced at 5-1.
Yeah, that was the one that I thought was overpriced as well. There, like say 5-1, 11-2, with a couple of firms there as well. My Oberon is probably the value, but like you say, for Chindit, he is. I think you have to join the club then for Chindit's cliff nature then to side with him. But yeah, 5-2. I mean, it's a pretty open race. It's probably still a fair price, all things considered. But Chindit is the main selection for Andrew there at Ascot. Now we are back to our big field handicap once more with the Bunbury Cup at 3:50. This is a heritage handicap, 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs, understandably so, a very open race, Andrew. So who is your idea of the winner?
Yeah, I mean, difficult because we don't know what's happening with the draw here, and we have had occasions in this race when it's the higher the better. 2017 stall 19 beat stall 20, 12-1 and 16-1. So even if you don't fancy it, maybe just do your high draw combination, exactas and trifectas, and then just have your normal bets as well. We had a similar situation going back to 2013. Field of Dream 14-1 from stall 20, beat stalls 19 and stall 17 at 15-2 and 25-1. For the price of a lottery ticket, Just
He just had to
combine
feel
the
it
top,
was itching.
combine the top 3 or 4 stalls to tiny stakes, just in case. But as for the rest of it, I tipped Jumby in Racing and Football Outlook on Tuesday this week. Jumby is a horse I've been sort of tearing my hair out over, because I think he needs 7 furlongs. And I said this last season. I wrote him up after that final run last year. He won a handicap on the Rolling Mile on the 25th of September over 7 furlongs. Now, he recorded a Racing Post rating of 113, or I should say he was awarded a Racing Post rating of 113. It was his career best. And what have they done this season? They've run him 3 times over 6. Now, every time he's run with credit, as he normally does. He was placed in the Woking last time, albeit from a favourable draw, kept on well. I mean, go back to that only run over a mile in September 2020. He's bumped into Yabir and Magellan. And this is the most incredible conditions contest ever, because Yabir was rated 89, Magellan 86, and Jumby was the highest rated of the trio, rated 91. Now, Yabir, who runs today, of course, is rated 119 now. Magellan rated 112 or 112. And Jumby, only been a length and a bit over a mile, and just hasn't had the opportunity to sort of put his stamina to good use, I don't think, since then, apart from that one run over this trip of 7 furlongs, when he clocked that, recorded that career best RPR. So I think going back up in trip is going to suit Jumby. Eve Johnson Horton's in good form. He's been a bit of a mover as well, 14s into 15-2, I think, since the declarations were confirmed. So he's got to be on the shortlist, stall 5, whether that's advantageous or not, we're sort of guessing. The other, Star of Orion, I tipped up in the Buckhouse Stakes at Royal Ascot. My God, watch the replay of this race and try and work out how Rob Hornby has not steered him into the first 5 or 6 when I've got him as the bedrock of countless each-way multiples in which all the others are placed. He's finished 10th. He's been 5 lengths. He's just, they're spread wide across the straight track at Newmarket, and he's managed to find trouble, even though he's racing with a group of about 4 or 5 others. Ropey Guest, second at Royal Ascot. He'll probably finish 2nd or 3rd again, I would imagine. He's a horse who's hard to win with, but tends to run his race regardless. And Lord Rapscallion was 3rd in this race last year at 33-1, when surprisingly making the running. He placed behind 80-1 shot Bauman at Royal Ascot and Epsom. Since then, he's run 2nd in a small field on the July course. He's another one who stick him in your sort of play spot and your combination forecast and tricast, because he tends to run his race. So I'll go Jumby, but I certainly want to have something each way on Star of Orion, Ropey Guest, and Lord Rapscallion as well,
to compensate for that draw potentially.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. But when I was looking at this race, my shortlist eventually, well, to start with, it was Montasib, Jumby, Rhoscolyn, Vaffatino, Star of Orion, and Silent Film. And then eventually I've narrowed it down just for me to Rhoscolyn here, tentatively so, because I think he's a fair price as well at 14-1. And this race for me is really just a battle of the Buckingham Palace Stakes Mark II, where we have a whole host of horses, as you've just been saying, Andrew, who reoppose here from that Royal Ascot contest. And it was Rhoscolyn who came out 2nd best of the reopposing horses, behind Ropey Guest, who actually finished 2nd in that race. Rhoscolyn was 3rd, but it was a very fair run from Rhoscolyn after he was held up in the centre group before running on well in the finish, just to go down by a short head. And he's able to run off of the same mark here, sees him £1 well in. And I just hope that he can revert back to that more prominent racing style, where there's a whole host of hold-up performers in this race. But last time out, he was held up. So I just hope that they can revert back to jumping and breaking that bit better than with him after he was previously ridden prominently prior to that. I hope he breaks well from stall 12 as well, where, as you say, we're waiting to see on the draw. So I'm kind of hedging my bets by going down the middle really with him. And hopefully he can get back to winning ways. So Rhoscolyn just marginally for me, as I eventually managed to narrow down that very long shortlist. But it is a wide open, really likeable race. We're back to York, though, for our next race, which is the 405. This is the John Smith's Cup handicap, 4-3 odds and over a mile 2. And again, we have plenty of runners in this contest, which is another very attractive betting proposition. So, Andrew, assess this one for us, please.
Yeah, I've not been through this race with a fine tooth comb, although I did sort of at first glance think there's quite a lot of pace in the race. There wasn't last year when Cockalorum almost won under a front-running Ryan, I think finishing second by a neck or ahead at 40-1. He's in there again, but looking through it, there does seem to be a lot more pace this time around. And the one I like, although his stamina is not assured, is course expert La Trinidad. Now he's got a really good record at this time of year, 7 runs in July and August, 4 wins from those 7 starts, loads and loads of really good York form. Now this is 10 furlongs. He has run, he's won here over 9. I'll take a chance that he'll stay because he should have the race run to suit as long as he settles. He looked on his way back when a 28-1 fourth from off the pace at Epsom last time out at the Derby meeting. And I still think there's room for manoeuvre in his handicap mark of 92. He does look to have been laid out for this. So yeah, I'm with La Trinidad.
La Trinidad, nicely done there. I mean, did you have a price for him? I've lost my prices now.
Yeah, 12-1. Again, he's another one who I think he was 25-1. Early doors, and then before the final declarations were known, he does seem to have been shortening up steadily since he's been declared a definite runner. But coming out of store 4, it was an advantage to be drawn low last year, although that might just be because the pace held up, and often we see those York races where the front runners go too quick up the inside and everything drawn high comes down the middle. So tough to call on the draw. I certainly wouldn't let it put you off if you're drawn high or low.
Cool. So, but La Trinidad then, let's say around 12-1 for Andrew in that York contest. Right, we're on to the big one now. This is the Group 1 July Cup for 3-year-olds and over 6 furlongs at 4.25, where the wonderful Perfect Power heads the betting in a bid to double up on his Group 1 Commonwealth Cup success from last time out. I'm still of the opinion that he's the best sprinter in this country, admittedly not from the strongest of crops at present, but 6 furlongs is perfect for Perfect Power, and he proved himself, as I say, as the best sprinter in the country at Royal Ascot last time out with that comprehensive win in the Commonwealth Cup. And yes, you can say that Artorias was one of the unlucky stories of Royal Ascot on the back of his 3rd in the Platinum Jubilee behind the reopposing Naval Crown and Creative Force. However, I still think that Perfect Power is a better sprinter than those 2 older horses anyway. And that's coming from Creative Force's biggest fan as well. So between those 2 stars, I would, if I had to pick between my 2 children then of Creative Force and Perfect Power, for this race, I think I'd have to side with Perfect Power, though, as much as it does pay me if they both come here at the top of their game, of course, which is the notable question. So it's Perfect Power for me, and probably for Daryl as well, to be honest, Andrew. So are you jumping back on the bandwagon again?
Hello. Oh, it's new NYPD. Daryl's in a cell. He was arrested for streaking naked through Times Square after his 5-star nap round like a hairy dog last week. But he says he has nap Perfect Power, and I'm his one phone call. But rather than call his mother, he said, "Can I just put a monkey on for him?" Yeah. So I imagine if Daryl were here, he'd be going the same way. And there was talk about running in France, of course, wasn't there? And but I think that the ground seems to have decided it, and. You would think he's going to be very hard to beat if he does what he did at Royal Ascot. Fascinating to see him taking on his elders here, of course, after that Commonwealth Cup win. I mean, again, this is a race I tend to play prices in, and often I get it very wrong, like I did when sort of Starman beat is it Dragon Pulse or Dragon whatever it was. Dragon Symbol, of course, not Dragon Ball. And occasionally I've gone very close. Tropics, I bet, when he was second at 66-1 and second by a nose at 25s. I'm going to fire off a couple of arrows. One of those is Happy Romance for Richard Howard, who I'm taking a chance that stall 1 down the near side, hopefully will be the place to be on the track come Saturday. And she's a horse I've long been a fan of. Who, just loves quick ground and very rarely seems to get it. And the last time we saw in Britain last season on a favourite ground, she was a close-up 4th at 25-1 in the Sprint Cup Stakes at Haydock, a Group 1 contest, of course, coming from off the pace when the pace held up. She then ran behind Creative Force at Ascot, hated the good to soft ground, went overseas, ran a couple of good races, including one second of 16 to A Case of You at Maydown, where she had Creative Force and Naval Crown behind her, of course. This season, she's only in Britain. She's only had the one run. That was at Royal Ascot. So that was her first run for a few months. She's only been 2 lengths behind Naval Crown. That was a cracking effort, on a preferred good ground. So if that store, with that run behind her, if the store one draw is advantageous, then maybe Happy Romance can give us an each way return. And Double or Bubble was the one I put up for the Platty Jubes. You youngsters might like to call it. And she ran really well. Again, she had what turned out to be a poor draw. I mean, Royal Ascot was a complete nightmare, wasn't it? Because every time you think you want to be low, an hour and a half later you want to be high, you want to be down the middle, and it was a real sort of mind killer. Almost said something else then, but it's a family show. And so she finished 11th. She was beaten 3 lengths. It wasn't a bad effort. You could pick holes and say, well, a lot of them finished in sort of within 3 or 4 lengths, and maybe it wasn't the greatest race. But at the price, it's 33 to 1. I'll throw a couple of quid at Double or Bubble as well. But yeah, Happy Romance, the main play. But I'm probably going to be paying and just watching Your Perfect Power scoot home again.
Yes, I know. But to be fair, you joined us the last time.
I did message you before the race, and so yeah. I mean, it was the draw that was persuasive. The day before, I thought store one's no good. Half an hour before, I thought store one's an advantage.
I know. I was waiting for that when we were discussing it, and said, "Oh, I'm not sure about him stuck on that wing then." And just as the day was playing out, and it was all that far side, I was, this is so sweet. And like you say, you swallowed that pride then and came back to us, and I'm happy that you got on him anyway.
You've got to be flexible as a punter. And,
yeah.
Otherwise, you'll go skint. You go skint anyway, but a bit slower than if you're not flexible.
Completely, and especially when draws are involved as well. Then, like saying Royal Ascot had us all mind fudged by the end of it. So yeah, that was definitely
mind fudged. I like that. I'm going to use that.
You can have that one as well as Platty Jubes. Happy Romance and Double Bubble then the each way plays, but Happy Romance being the main play then for Andrew in the July Cup. Now we sign off with our final race, Andrew. We've got there, goodness me, after a whole load of races with the 440 at York. This is the listed John Smith City Wall Stakes for 3-year-olds and over 5 furlongs, and it's Winter Power who currently heads the betting. But will she rediscover her form back at her favourite track, Andrew?
Yeah, this is the question. I mean, I suggested before Royal Ascot that she's a York expert and she's going to struggle to perform away from that venue. I mean, you look at her, last run at York. It was in the Nunthorpe, of course, and she's won that at 9 to 1. Since then, the Curragh finished 10th, Longchamp finished 8th, Haydock 8th, Royal Ascot 14th. At 9 to 4, I think I'm prepared to take a chance that she's a York course expert. She's going to come alive on Saturday, and we're going to see her do what she did in this race last year, which was win it relatively comfortably. As a 9 to 4 favourite. I mean, she was rated 114 that day. She's rated 114 now. So the handicapper is saying she hasn't regressed, she hasn't improved. She's the same horse she was last year. Given the good form the Timmy's to be on, I'm thinking, if you start going into the sort of 5 to 4, 11 to 8, 6 to 4 territory, I'm thinking I can leave that well alone. But I think if you ran this race 10 times, she's going to win it on sort of 4 or 5 occasions. So 9 to 4 looks good to me.
Oh, nicely done then. Yes, 9 to 4 got Winter Powers in the hope that she is just favoured back at her preferred track. And it's interesting, like say, with her official rating then this time last year, and she's actually rated the same here now. But yeah, she's a bit of an enigma on that basis, but hopefully she comes good then back at York. So that was our final scheduled race, Andrew. Throw it back to you for anything from anywhere else.
Let me just check to see if one of the horses I tipped in Racing and Football Outlook is running in the 5:15 at York. Kill Conquer. No. So in a word, no.
No, that's it. We got that one ideal then. Well, at least we got the checkup on that anyway. Okay, so your nap then, please.
My nap. I should have worked out that you were going to ask me this, shouldn't I?
Yeah. After how many weeks now?
Yeah. Good point. I'm going to go for that. Was it Golden Spice in Phillies Handicap at Newmarket? One of the earlier races we touched on. So good effort against the bias. at Royal Ascot in the Sandringham Stakes. William Buick riding for George Morrison, got a really good attitude, this filly. Hopefully she can make all.
Perfect. And she is in the 205, wasn't it, at Newmarket? That filly's handicap over the 7 furlongs then. So that is Andrew's nap. And I'm going to go, surprise, surprise, Perfect Power in the 425 at Newmarket in the July Cup because he's just wonderful. And I feel like I'm going to speak for Daryl on that basis as well. So at least I'm getting in there before him. But we will see. But thank you, Andrew, for all of your hard work. I mean, this has been extensive today for you to carry the ship all by yourself. So we appreciate that massively.
Not just me, you there as well, Kate. I am going to invoice for double time.
Make sure you do.
Cheers, Daryl.
And we will hopefully be back with Daryl next week, unless he is the fully fledged leader of the Conservative Party. But if not, either way, then he'll be back with us then on this show. So thank you to Andrew again for all of his hard work. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the weekend's action, and we'll speak to you again next week.